Few rivalries have ever reached the level of intensity, impact, and cultural significance as the legendary feud between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. These weren't just two wrestlers, they were the faces of an entire era. Larger-than-life personalities whose every move captivated millions around the globe. Together, they main-evented WrestleMania, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. Each clash wasn't just about championships or bragging rights. It was a battle of identities, a war between two contrasting forces. The Rock, smooth, electrifying, and adored by the crowd for his unmatched charisma, and Stone Cold, anti-authority rebel who became the voice of the people. This is the definitive story of how two legends clashed in a feud that forever altered the landscape of sports entertainment. In the late 1990s, professional wrestling was experiencing an all-out ratings war as WWE went head-to-head with WCW. What would become one of the most competitive eras in sports entertainment history? This was the birth of the Attitude Era, gritty, edgy, no-holds-barred evolution of WWE's product that aimed to captivate a mature, rebellious audience. At the heart of this revolution was the meteoric rise of Stone Cold Steve Austin, a foul-mouthed, beer-drinking renegade who embodied the anti-establishment spirit of the time. He didn't just break the rules, he destroyed them, and the crowd loved him for it. As both superstars rose to the top at lightning speed, it became clear that WWE had struck gold twice. But while the ring was big enough for legends, the spotlight was not. The company and the fans were soon forced to choose between two alpha personalities destined for greatness. Knowing full well that the path forward could only belong to one true icon, WrestleMania XV marked the first major collision between two of WWE's fastest-rising icons. As Stone Cold Steve Austin challenged The Rock for the WWF Championship on March 28, 1999, in Philadelphia, by this time, The Rock had fully embraced his role as the corporate champion, aligned with Vince McMahon and representing everything the rebellious fanbase despised, privileged, and backed by authority. In contrast, Austin was the embodiment of anti-establishment chaos, a man who had earned the love of millions by defying the system and raising hell on his own terms. When the bell rang, it wasn't just a championship at stake, it was a battle between control and defiance, order and anarchy, near falls that had the crowd on edge, and signature moves exchanged in a fierce back and forth. Each rock bottom answered by a stone-cold stunner, each moment building toward a boiling point. Ultimately, Austin delivered the final blow to once again claim the WWF Championship. But even in victory, the air was thick with unfinished business. The match ignited a rivalry that would only grow more intense, setting the stage for something far greater than either man nor the WWE had ever seen before. 2 years after their first WrestleMania clash, The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin found themselves face-to-face once again, this time on the grand stage of WrestleMania X-Seven, held on April 1, 2001, at the Astrodome in Houston, Texas. But everything had changed. By now, both men weren't just top-tier wrestlers, they had become cultural icons, megastars in every sense of the word. The WWF Championship was once again on the line, but this wasn't just another title match. It was the culmination of years of tension, ego, pride, and personal evolution. The atmosphere was electric, and from the opening bell, the match delivered on every level: intense physicality, relentless pacing, dramatic storytelling, and raw emotion. Steel chairs flew, finishers were exchanged, and the crowd remained unglued throughout. But just when fans thought they had seen it all, the unthinkable happened. Steve Austin, the very symbol of rebellion, reached out and shook hands with Vince McMahon, the man he had spent years fighting, insulting, and stunning at every opportunity. It was a twist so shocking that the entire wrestling world stood still. Yes, Austin won the match and walked out as champion, but something felt broken. That handshake was more than a heel turn, it was a betrayal of everything his character had stood for. Fans didn't know whether to boo, cheer, or simply stare in disbelief. From that moment on, the rivalry with The Rock took on a new layer of darkness, no longer just competitive, but deeply personal and morally complex. WrestleMania XIX, held on March 30, 2003, in Seattle, wasn't just another match between The Rock and Stone Cold. It was the emotional conclusion to a rivalry that had defined an era. Unlike their previous encounters, this time there was no championship on the line. no corporate involvement, and no outside interference, only raw, unfinished business between two icons. The Rock had already conquered almost everything in WWE, but there was one ghost he had never put to rest. He had never beaten Steve Austin on the WrestleMania stage. For him, this match wasn't about gold, it was about closure, about proving that he could finally overcome the man who had haunted his biggest nights. For Austin, the stakes were even deeper. Years of physical punishment had taken their toll, and though he hadn't officially announced it, this was the match he knew might be his last. He entered not for the win, but for the War I final. Fight to end things on his terms. What followed was a battle full of grit, heart, and echoes of their legendary past. Every move felt heavier, every moment more meaningful. And then, after 3 devastating rock bottoms, it happened. The Rock pinned Austin, securing the victory he had chased for years. But there was no gloating, no arrogance. Instead, The Rock knelt beside his greatest rival and whispered something only the two of them will ever truly know. It was a moment of respect, of farewell, and of finality. As The Rock walked away, Austin remained in the ring, soaking in the applause. Unknown to many at the time, this would be his final match. The Texas Rattlesnake had given everything, but as a legend, from the roar of the crowd to the clash of egos, the rivalry between The Rock and Stone Cold Steve, Austin stands as the single greatest saga in WrestleMania history and, perhaps in all, of professional wrestling. Over the course of 3 epic encounters on the grandest stage of them all, these two titans didn't just fight for titles, they fought for legacy, for pride, and for something even bigger than wrestling: immortality. Their storyline wasn't manufactured, it was born out of perfect timing, organic chemistry, and a fan base that lived and breathed every moment they created. Their personalities couldn't have been more different, and that's what made it work. The Rock's smooth, confident, a walking soundbite with unmatched charisma, was the man fans loved to cheer and loved to boo. Austin, on the other hand, was pure rebellion, gritty, intense, and unapologetically himself. He connected with everyday fans in a way that felt real. He didn't pretend to be a superhero. He was a man who didn't take crap from anyone, especially not his boss. That dynamic corporate cool versus working class rage was lightning in a bottle, and every time they stepped into the ring together, it was magic. Their promos alone were box office gold. Every face-off was like watching 2 generals preparing for war taunts, insults, stares that told stories longer than entire matches, whether it was The Rock's razor-sharp wit or Austin's straightforward, no-nonsense fury. Their microphone work shaped the narrative in a way no script could. They blurred the lines between character and reality, between entertainment and authenticity and the fans. They were hooked, living every word, every stunner, every rock bottom like it was happening in their own lives. But beyond the storylines, beyond the spectacle, what truly made their rivalry immortal was the timing. The late 90s and early 2000s were a turning point in WWE history. The Monday Night Wars were in full force. The Attitude Era was redefining the business. And right at the center of it all stood these 2 gladiators. They didn't just represent the era, they were the era. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. Ratings broke records. WWE went global. And much of that momentum was carried on the shoulders of Austin and Rock. Their rivalry wasn't just a storyline, it was a cultural moment. Even after the final bell rang, and even as their careers evolved, Austin stepping away from the ring, The Rock heading to Hollywood, the legacy of their battles endured. New stars came, new rivalries were built, but none have ever recaptured the exact storm that was Rock versus Austin. Fans still rewatch their matches, quote their promos, and relive the energy they brought to arenas packed with thousands. It's a reminder of a time when wrestling felt larger than life, when every Monday night felt unpredictable, and when 2 men stood across from each other with the entire industry watching. Today, their rivalry is studied, celebrated, and revered not just as entertainment, but as an art form. It taught future generations how storytelling, character, and connection can elevate wrestling into something timeless. And while countless matches have taken place at WrestleMania, since none have carried the same emotional weight, the same intensity, or the same legacy. Because at the end of the day, there may be many great rivalries in wrestling history, but there is, and always will be, only one that truly defined a generation. The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Who was your favorite? Comment below, Rock or Austin. If this rivalry gave you goosebumps, hit like and subscribe for more epic wrestling stories.